At this meeting, I'm presenting a phase 2 study exploring a novel antibody-drug conjugate called polatuzumab vedotin. This is a drug that targets CD79B, which is pretty much universally expressed on the surface of normal B cells as well as the majority of B cell malignancies. So this drug, as all antibody-drug conjugates, is a monoclonal antibody that has a toxin attached to it. The concept is that it specifically targets the tumor cell, gets swallowed up into the cell, and only once in the cell releases the toxin. So it's a way of targeting the delivery of the toxin to the tumor itself and hopefully sparing the normal body cells. Yeah, so this was a randomized phase 2 trial, so a one-to-one comparison of polatuzumab combined with bendamustine and rituximab versus bendamustine and rituximab alone. The trial included 2 cohorts, patients with relapsed refractory follicular lymphoma and patients with relapsed refractory diffuse large B-cell lymphoma. I think the most notable results were in the diffuse large B-cell lymphoma cohort, which, as you're aware, is a very unmet need population. So this was a group of patients who were either considered transplant ineligible or who had failed prior transplant. So these patients did not have any further curative therapies, and I think it's safe to say that the majority of therapies available really have minimal benefit, and these patients have notably a short survival. Yeah, so in terms of the trial results, the primary endpoint was the complete response rate at the end of induction therapy as measured by PET scanning in an independently assessed review committee. And what we saw was that the PET-CR rate was significantly improved with the combination of Pola-BR. So it was 40% versus 15% with BR alone. And importantly, that translated into a significant improvement in progression-free survival, which was more than tripled in the Pola-BR group. And importantly also, I think quite remarkably, an improvement in overall survival. So the median overall survival was over 11 months in the Pola-BR cohort and under 5 months in those receiving BR alone. Yeah, I think that, it does show that this drug has quite notable efficacy in patients with diffuse large B-cell lymphoma, and based on these encouraging results, it has received a breakthrough therapy designation both by the FDA and a PRIME designation through EMA. Yeah, so the combination with Pola-BR was slightly more toxic than BR alone. Importantly, the types of toxicities that were seen were not unexpected. Mainly the majority of toxicities were quite low grade in nature, although the higher grade toxicities largely pertain to cytopenias. So there was a higher rate of grade 3 to 5 neutropenia and anemia seen with the Pola-BR combination. But despite a slightly higher number of patients having febrile neutropenia with Pola-BR, it did not translate into a higher risk of grade 3 to 5 infections. There was also a slightly higher risk of peripheral neuropathy, but this was largely low grade in nature. Only 1 patient had grade 3 peripheral neuropathy. In terms of all of the patients with peripheral neuropathy, the majority of patients were seen to have this very reversible. So this drug is going to be tested in different novel combinations in the relapsed refractory setting as well as in the salvage therapy setting prior to stem cell transplantation. Also, and importantly, it's actually going to be tested in the frontline setting. So there's already an ongoing large phase 3 randomized trial where this drug will be replacing vincristine in the R-CHOP combination compared with R-CHOP alone in patients with untreated diffuse large B-cell lymphoma.